All right, we welcome in Donnie Walsh now, a little early, but he's with us now. Donnie, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Mike? How's everything doing?
Fine. How you feeling? Good?
I'm feeling great, yeah.
Good. How about this, Donnie? Was this one of the crazier trades? Was this one of the crazier negotiations you ever went through?
It was about as scrutinized, by the press and everyone else as anything I've been through, yeah. You're not used to that, particularly in trades. You don't want the trade to get out there because 100 things can go wrong with trades. And then when it's out there, you're alerting everybody else in the league, and they try to get in, and so you're going to get pretty much what it was. But as it ended, I liked the way it ended in the sense that it came down to the two owners getting together, and that we knew the parameters of the deal, and Mike and I were involved with that with Jim, and we got a good deal, I think, for this kind of a player, and also for Chauncey Billups, who hasn't been mentioned much. He's like an afterthought, and he's much more than an afterthought.
Donnie, your role in this has been obviously chronicled here for days and weeks. There's this feeling that, and I don't know whether it's accurate or not, so I'll ask you directly, that you were pushed aside and Dolan took over and you were cut out of this negotiation. Is that accurate?
That's absolutely untrue. I mean, I've been talking to Jim Dolan for probably the whole time this Carmelo Anthony thing has gone on, and strategizing how we could get him and what did I think of it and who would I give up for him. And it's been a constantly evolving thing in the sense that when you start out, you only want to give up so many players. Then you realize, well, we're going to have to give up more. And so you come to the day of confrontation when, do you really want to give this up for him and Chauncey Billups? And I came down, yeah, I think we should do this because you're not going to get this opportunity again.
Now, go ahead, finish.
All we did was switch our plan from, we have good support players. And one, terrific player in Amari. We would have tried to use our room next summer to get, let's say, Carmelo. But when it became apparent that we couldn't do it that way, then we just moved and said, okay, let's get the super player, and then we'll strategize how to get the support players that we'll need around him once we get this team together. So that's what we did. But it all dates back to getting the room to do all this. You have to have the cap position to do it, and we did.
Was Dolan involved because their owner was involved, or was he involved for another reason?
He was involved because their owner was involved.
So it was owner to owner?
Yes, absolutely. And that happens in this league. A lot of deals, particularly the ones that are involving these kind of players, it's going to come down to the owners talking to each other.
We're talking with Donnie Walsh after the big trade. There were thoughts that the guy you really wanted to protect was Fields. Is that accurate?
Well, he was one of them, but yeah, he was definitely a guy we wanted to keep. And that became more positional than anything. He plays two-guard. We wouldn't have had a two-guard. We think he's a good young player and can play with terrific players. He's a perfect type of guy to play with a good team. And so we did want to keep him. Probably wanted to keep other people too, but it became apparent that we weren't going to get the deal done unless we gave up certain people. So that's what we did.
Now, you obviously needed to keep a big guy. You have Billups, you have Fields, and you have the 3-4 guys. You need to keep a center. There's a lot of thoughts that you wanted to keep Muskov, but they insisted. Is that fairly accurate, that he was the last link to pushing this aside? Or was he the guy that was the holdup? Did you try to keep him out of the deal because you needed a big player?
Well, we all did. Jim, me, and Mike. We're trying to, because he's a young center, and they come at a premium in the NBA. But the bottom line is that we had at some point weigh that against, do you want to get Carmelo Anthony and Chauncey Billups or not? And we decided, well, let's go get him, and we'll, we can go and get another guy who can play center for us. And so that's what we'll work on from here on out.
So what you're saying is that you were involved in this right from the start to the finish. You were not pushed out of this negotiation, and you're not unhappy with the trade.
No, I'm not unhappy, and I wasn't pushed out of it. I was very much a part of this trade. I was on the phone with Jim all day, every day in the last week and a half. And with Mike.
Did it annoy you to hear all this Isaiah stuff during this trade?
Well, I don't really pay any attention to it because I'm just focused on what I'm doing, and so I didn't think much about it. And I've been hearing that for a long time. And I decided, I'm not thinking about this, nothing I can do about it. I think it's overblown completely. I don't think that, every owner has friends. Some of them know basketball. They all advise. And then the owner usually comes back and tests it out on the guys that work for him. And then he's paying to do that. And I always give my opinion on all that.
So it's fair to say, Don, and listen, I think this is important for the Knicks fans to hear from you, is it's fair to say you were part of this and you were on board with this trade. This trade's okay with you?
Absolutely. I've never said anything different.
Okay. No, well, there was a lot of reports that you were unhappy with the trade, that you were pushed aside. I mean, those were reports we were hearing for days and days and days. I want to hear it from you.
There were no quotes from me.
No, nothing from you, but I'm saying there were a lot of reports that, that you were pushed aside, that you weren't happy, and you and D'Antoni didn't want this trade. So you're saying that's not true?
That's not true.
Okay. So, and the trade, the way it was constituted, was a trade that you put your stamp on?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, your future. Do you want to stay with the Knicks? Is that something, health-wise, you're okay to stay with the Knicks? Where are you health-wise and where are you future-wise? I think the fans really want to hope that you'll stay and finish this job. You've done a great job with this team. Do you plan to stay with this franchise? Do you want to stay with this franchise past this year?
Basically, the reason it's being brought up is that there's a date at which I have an option.
Right.
And I haven't even thought about that date. And I haven't thought that Jim should think about that date. So we haven't really discussed anything about it, but I haven't taken any signal from that one way or the other. For whatever reason, the press has been writing about this. I tried to answer it every time they ask me, and they don't seem to let it go. They think there's a grassy knoll here that somebody's shooting from. I don't see it. So, it hasn't been an issue with me.
Do you want to? Would you like to stay with the team?
Yeah, I mean, my goal here was to try to get the team to a contender.
Well, you've done a great job so far. I mean, I think anyone would. I mean, the job you've done has been amazing the last couple of years. There's still work to be done. I think the Knicks fan would like you to stay here and finish the job.
Well, that's ideally what I'd like to do from a personal standpoint. Now, I can't vouch for my health, as I found out this year.
Right.
But if everything's all right, I'm fine with it.
We're talking with Donnie Walsh. How do you see, I think a lot of it has to depend on Billups. Do you get any indication, Donnie, that Billups doesn't want to be here, won't like his role here, will not like being part of this here? There's been a lot of talk about whether Billups will be happy, not happy, motivated. How do you see Billups, who I think short-term is a very important part of this mix here?
I do, too. I mean, I can tell you I do. And all the indications I have from Chauncey Billups is that he really is looking forward to playing here. He knows it's a great opportunity for him to continue his career here, and that he will get in the best shape he's ever been in. And I think his goal is to play more years than this contract calls for. So that's a great sign to me.
And how do you feel as a basketball man, and we're talking with Donnie Walsh, when you look at two very, very confident, very, very good finishers, complete scorers, I mean, two of the best in the league. How do you see them playing side by side? Neither one has to have the ball, obviously. You have a facilitator in Billups. How do you see, when you envision it, how do you see a Anthony playing next to a Stoudemire?
Well, it's been my experience that those kind of players, they're going to make it work. And what will happen, people always say things like, oh, they can't play together, they can't do this together. And then all of a sudden they start playing together, and the guys saying, I go, uh-oh, because it's usually other teams. They go, uh-oh, they look like they can play together. Because they're good enough to make it work, that's why. And as you mentioned, Chauncey Billups is a great backcourtman who's dealt with that his whole career at the very highest levels, and I watched it in Indiana, so I know he can help with that.
Does one have to sacrifice more than the other, or do both equally have to be cognizant of what the other's doing here?
Well, they're good enough to know if you're going to pay a lot of attention to Amari, then we're going to get the ball to Carmelo. and he'll make you pay for it. And Carmelo knows if they're going to be helping out on him, then he's got tomorrow. So they know that the more they take advantage of other teams, the harder it's going to be for them to pay a lot of attention to one of them. So they'll make it work for them.
What can you do now in the short term, if anything, to supplement the 5 spot and to supplement your bench?
Well, that's what we'll look to do if we can. I don't know in short term. I think we'll be all right on the bench for the rest of this year. But we know we got to get a big guy, and we'll start strategizing how to do that. Because it can't just be some big guy. It's got to be a guy good enough to play with that level of players that'll be out on the floor.
So overall, it's fair to say, Donnie, that you are on board here and you are happy with the trade.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think there will be a long period where these guys need a long period to kind of find themselves? I mean, do you have to give yourself 3 weeks or a month for that, or do you think it can come quicker than that?
Well, I'm hopeful it can come quicker than that, than a month or 6 weeks. And I think it will, because I think the players are good enough, and I think they know what Mike's system, I think they'll take to, and they'll know how to use it pretty quickly. So I think it will happen. I do.
Will it be hard for Billups to pick up the D'Antoni system, even though he's an experienced, talented player? Will that be a hard adjustment for him in season, or do you think it's maybe a little overrated how hard that adjustment will be?
I think it's way overrated. I think Chauncey already knows how to play in our system. He's played a little bit of it with George, Carl at Denver, and he also played it on the Olympic team when he was on the world team.
So you think he'll be able to pick it up pretty quickly?
Yeah, because he's a hell of a basketball player.
He's a very good player, and I think he's the key short term to the success. I think he's really a very big part of this. He's a terrific player. The question is as long as he's motivated. We've heard a lot that he didn't want to leave Denver, that he wanted to go somewhere else. So you wonder if he's got his head in the right place, he could really make things go right from the start, I would think.
Without a doubt, and I've met Chauncey. He's a true pro. I fully expect him to come in here motivated, realizing what an opportunity he's got for the team and where he can help the team. I think he'll be like that.
This was an incredibly, as you hinted, it was an incredibly scrutinized trade. There were a lot of moving parts. There was incredible speculation. You had it wrapped around the All-Star game. You had owners involved. Did that make this almost impossible to do, or was it not as hard as it looked? It seemed like it was just crazy. Was it as crazy as it seemed to be?
I think it was, yeah. Because there were rumors each day, and they often conflicted directly in the opposite direction. They would, one would say this is going to happen, the next day it would be just the opposite. So it really screwed it up, I thought. And you don't like to do trades in front of the whole league.
Right. No, it's hard to do. It really is hard to do. We're talking with Donnie Walsh. So the bottom line is, and I think the biggest part is to prove that you were a part of it and you were happy. It's not just you putting out fires now. You're really admitting you were part of this for the whole time.
Well, I've never said anything different.
No, I know you didn't, but a lot of people reported that you were kind of shut out and you went home and you were unhappy and blah, 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 and Dolan was taking over and everything else.
That's totally untrue. I was part of this the whole way.
Okay.
And more recently, on a kind of like minute-by-minute phone call basis, it was me, Mike, and Jim. That's who was on the phone with each other the whole time.
All right, and if your health is good, and we hope that it is, you want to stay here and stay with the Knicks?
Yeah, I want to finish the job if I can do it.
Well, listen, I hope you're feeling well, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Take care. Donnie Walsh.